The guy that you were calling the Oilers game with at that time was Bum Phillips. That was your partner in the booth. And just what was it like to not only work with Bum, but just be around him on a regular basis?
It was the Pied Piper. I mean, every city we went to, even though we were the visiting team, everybody was waiting at the hotel, waiting to see Bum get off the bus after we, left the airport and got to the hotel. Bum was the crowd favorite everywhere we went, and people were standing in line to shake his hand, to say hello, to have him sign something, and he was absolutely the Pied Piper. There's no better way for me to describe it. And our biggest chore back in those days was first to get Bum to say a lot of the things that he would say in commercial breaks on the air. He would dissect things during the commercial breaks. This is going on, and we'd look at him, Bum, you need to say this when we're on the air with the people. Just don't tell us here in the booth. Tell everybody what you're seeing out here. That's why we've got you here. We finally converted that, and then it was my goal. We had a three-man crew at that time. The first 2 years, John O'Reilly was the third man, and the second 2 years, Russ Small was the third man in the booth. But John and I, when we first started that, it's an Oiler broadcast. They're coming back to KTRH after a 5-year stint on a different radio station, and with Bum being the attraction, we looked at each other, and there's no social media like there is today, and our goal was to have one or two what we called Bumisms per ball game. So when people went to work on Monday and got together to talk about the ball game, people would say, "Did you hear what Bum said about?" That was my whole goal for every broadcast. I knew they weren't listening for me. They're listening for Bum, and I wanted to make sure that there was one or two memorable moments in a broadcast where Bum would say something that would have people talking the very next day. And but to learn so much football from him, sitting next to him, sitting with him on the planes and discussing things, it was like being next to an encyclopedia, because the man was a football genius, not only from an X's and O's standpoint, but how to handle people and how to handle his players. And there's no doubt as to why those Love You Blue teams back in the late 70s were as successful as they were. It was because of that man walking the sideline and being the leader.
You're listening to Houston Sports Talk.